meeting to order. Ask you please to rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge to the flag. Father, again we ask for your wisdom and your guidance in all things that we deliberate and discuss this evening. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Next item, consideration of a resolution to approve the agenda. And before I ask for that motion, there's a few changes that I'd like you to consider. Each of you should have just been handed a revised agenda.
Nope. Unless it's in here. Is it in here?
No, I gave it to you.
You just gave it to me.
Yes.
Good deal.
And it's just,
All right.
spelling errors. It's not an actual change in the agenda, it's just spelling errors.
Under then what y'all are looking at, item, the consent agenda, if you will look, there's next as appearance, and then 01 is under appearance. That's just an error that should be moved up under consent agenda. So that fire release 01 should be under consent agenda. Then the explanation, consideration to approve a fire fee, actually it's to approve a release of a fire fee. That's what information is in your book. Under new business, item number 1 is not a refund. Everything else is correct.
Second reading.
Huh?
Right, correct, it's the second reading.
And I'm asking, staff has asked to remove item number 7 in its entirety. And I would like to move item number 5 up to number 1 under new business. Party is here, and if the board takes affirmative action, we can get that signed and out of the way. So in other words, number 1 would become number 5, and number 5 would become number 1. That's my request. Anybody else?
I have one additional, I spoke with Angie Richardson today that's listed at 5:15 as an appearance.
Yes?
She said she was not aware that she was supposed, she didn't know it was on the agenda is what she said.
She did.
Okay. She said she did not. And could we remove it this time and put her on the next meeting? And I told her I would ask to have it removed and put her on the next meeting.
But an email was sent to her, telling her that her appearance would be at 5:15 today.
Maybe she missed that email like I missed her person.
All right. So, with the board's approval, then we will remove the appearance item, Ms. Angie Richardson in its entirety, and reschedule it for our next meeting. Anything else? I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with all the changes stated. I'll try to restate them. That we remove under appearance Angie Richardson, that we exchange item number 1 and number 5 under new business in their placement. We remove item number 7 in its entirety, and we correct moving 01 fire release to be placed under consent agenda. Is that everything? That's my
I
motion.
think so. I second that.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve the minutes of the October 7th, 2014 commission meeting. Any corrections? entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second to approve is written. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Should be noted that public comment should be limited to our agenda items only, and that all correspondence documents from this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. Next item, consent agenda. Consideration to approve to release a fire fee as submitted by the fire department. Motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried. The appearance has been removed. First item of new business, sorry. We have no old business. That's probably a first. First item, consideration to approve a warranty deed to accept the roads in Baywood subdivision and pay the delinquent taxes.
In 2007, the developer of Baywood subdivision deeded the roads and subdivision to the homeowners association. The HOA was registered as a corporation in 2007, and no subsequent filings were made, and the HOA was administratively dissolved in 2010. The county was able to locate the only officer listed in the corporation documents, who has now moved from the Baywood subdivision. She is willing to execute the deed as required as an officer, and as such a deed was prepared. There are outstanding taxes owed on these roads in the amount of $454.67. Penalties and interest account for $249.27, leaving the principal tax owed of $205.40. The county and staff inspected the road in early 2014. There were no outstanding deficiencies. Staff recommends acceptance of the deed, and once executed, waiving the penalties and interest, and the county paying the outstanding tax bill amount of $205.
Any questions?
That's the one I have right now. This is an interesting one.
You got something you want to say about it?
No, I appreciate the work.
I'm here, come on.
I appreciate it.
And you're here. Do you have anything you wish to say?
No, sir, I've already spoken with Adam about everything and I'm clear.
Good deal.
Thank
I'll
you.
call for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we get our comment if you want to set the roads and pay the taxes and wait the counties.
Second. Motion on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you very much.
No problem, thank you.
All right. Item number 2, consideration to authorize the purchase of 2 used fire apparatus and fire equipment.
Good evening. Clint Hodges, Fire Chief. Right now, the fire department's operating 2 apparatus. Sorry. Oh, okay. We're operating 2 fire apparatus that are, right now they have some pretty obsolete technology and they're causing us frequent maintenance expenditures. One's a 1980 and the other is a 1982 model. And right now, what we're proposing is the replacement of the 2 and also the purchase of small and loose equipment to not only outfit those, but outfit the rest of the fleet up to our ISO guidelines. Right now, the reason we come before you before actually finding the apparatus is the really good ones that are used don't stay on the market very long. So what we have proposed is setting a price cap and actual bid spec and going forth from there. As far as the funding goes, we actually have a revised funding schedule based upon, we did a little more research in the past several days and we've noticed that there was a couple of items that couldn't be funded within the short-term work program. They would actually have to have a budget amendment. But as you can see, within the short-term work program, there's a total of $383,930. And this could be used from the SPOS, as the finance director and I spoke about today. The other $36,020 would have to require a budget amendment.
Would we be surplus under the old equipment?
One of them would go to surplus because right now it's just the amount to get it operating effectively is just really high. The other one we plan on repurposing into the hose, the long hose lay apparatus, and utilizing it in that manner.
And let me say, there's a lot of different iterations here, and Clint tried to put everything on one sheet when you can see it. Across the top, what you have 1 through 10 are our current stations. Each one of those represents a station. So each one of the pieces of equipment, you can see what's needed at what station. And I guess you took it off of this one. There's also another spreadsheet that has columns for additional vehicles outside the two. Each of those additional vehicles and apparatus are tied to what you all determine to do with your ISO consultant as we go through that process. Those are left off now. The step that we're asking for today is equipment that's needed for our current stations that we operate. Whether we go through an ISO audit or not, we need this equipment. It's just things that have either were never purchased or have worn out and went away, but it's to keep our current 10 stations running. The 2 vehicles here today have nothing to do with new stations. They're to keep, to replace old and antiquated ones. And what Clint was saying is what we as staff believe to be the plan going forward. One truck will be surplus, one will be used for a hose tender. Obviously, pending y'all's decision, if y'all want to go to the long hose lay, that's one of the vehicles we would use, with another one being another vehicle that we have. If you all decide not to do that, then obviously it would be surplus too. So there are different iterations that we can go through, but what he's asking for tonight is simply to keep us operational if we do nothing else. So we add no additional stations, ISO remains unchanged and so forth. And then at a later date, we'll come back to y'all with the additional equipment and so forth to improve ISO. And then you'll have other decisions that need to be made, as to what pieces you want and so forth.
He wants us to okay a cap on what he can spend on them, so if he finds something he can, in short order, he doesn't have to come before us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just what he said, they pop on the market and they go away just that quickly because, other people are looking for them. And we've talked about this in a prior meeting. I think y'all already given authorization to do that. What you hadn't seen or given authorization for is the loose equipment that we're calling it, the $36,020 that goes to the other vehicles. And again, that's just stuff we need today to operate the way we currently do, whether or not we expand services or not. That's just pieces we need. Now, in the future, you'll see another list that comes up that says, for instance, if we build the Altamore station, we need an engine in there. Well, it needs all of this equipment also. So that would come up, but that obviously is y'all's decision to build Altamore or not. So you can buy it or not. There'll be different scenarios that we play with at that point going forward.
If we're told that they need it for operation and we hear that the equipment's as old as it is and faulty, then, I'm in support of getting it replaced. But by the same token, what's concerning to me is that we have all these items on our agenda that we spend all this time studying. And one of the things that's crucial is that there's no funding other than what it's covered in SPOS, then I'm pretty okay with it normally. But to get a change at the meeting that now it's not all covered with SPOS, why was that not found before it was in our book? So that now, right this minute, we got to come up with a $36,000 budget amendment.
Yeah, and that was a great question. It was, as we looked into this a little more deeply, you can look at, let me say this, I believe that the law would allow this to come out of SPOS. I think you can do that, but it's probably from a standpoint of what the voters approved. They're expecting to see, more capital improvement type projects. We, as staff, I felt like it was probably not the best place to come out of there. Now, the other equipment going forward, in other words, if we purchase a brand new truck, we need all the equipment to go with it, just like we need tires and windshield wipers and all the individual pieces that wouldn't be SPOS. But for our existing fleet, it's my opinion, finance director agrees, there's other opinions around the room. that probably shouldn't come out of swaps. Now, legally can it? I believe it can. So I think when it was originally presented, it was presented as it can come from there. It's just in the interim, the more we discussed it, we felt like it probably wasn't the most prudent use of it.
Well, in the long run, 36,000 is not a big amount of money to worry about unless it's every time, when these ISO changes come along, then they're going to be more in every department and it starts adding up. So I just want to try to control the budget amendments.
Understand, let me say, I believe that there'll always be something that bites me later that makes me a liar, but I believe that this is it that we'll ask for. Every other loose piece of equipment or equipment would be a SPOS purchase.
Okay.
And I would think these would also, if we were buying an engine to go along with it. It's just because we're not, again, my opinion, that it's probably safer to do it this way.
Okay.
How good are we on the numbers? I mean, where do these numbers come from? Because we don't actually have a piece of equipment identified.
We were provided a document, not only from ISO, but from our consultant, as far as the list of what each apparatus has to have. And based off of that, we went and we took our inventory several times just to make sure we weren't missing anything, and that's where this comes from.
On the equipment, now the vehicles, the way he's done it, he's looking at sites that offer them for sale, and he knows what we have to have on ours, and he's just looking at other ones. And to be honest with you, he probably around, I think you got 175. We believe we can get it less, but we don't want to have to come back and ask again. So what he did was look at other vehicles that are close. It's not the ones we wanted, but looking at the price of them. So he's basically shopping.
I'm just trying to figure out how hard these numbers are. Is the 36,020, is that a hard number?
I think that's a fairly closer. It's probably, again, rounded to the high side to be safe, but, you know, these are things we get from existing vendors that we buy. You know, we have these other items, you know, if it makes sense. In other words, these are additional ones to put in some places.
Yes.
We have a good idea of cost, and if we approve on that amount, that's it.
These are caps.
This 36,000 number comes from like column 1, 2, 4.
1, 2.
Added up.
Yes, sir.
So then when the actual purchase is made, the board should be made aware as to what that was, and that's when the budget amendments would have to be.
Yes, sir.
actually done.
No, I made the budget amendment for
I just
it.
want to see the little changes that medium as possible.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve alternative number 1.
Motion and a second to approve alternative number 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve a warranty deed to accept the road and maintenance of Dixie Drive.
Mr. Chairman, June the 13th, the board directed staff to move forward with the preparation of the deed for the conveyance of Dixie Drive. As you may recall, this came to you through a petition from homeowners asking for acceptance. This is a dirt road. And at that time, it was the board's direction to move forward with preparation of the deed and to bring it back to y'all at that time. We still, there's no taxes owed on this particular parcel of land to get. The estimate's still the same. The public work estimates between $3,300 and $4,000 to basically get it into a shape that they can continue to maintain, which is to bring dirt in, fix the holes, grade it real good, cut the trees back and all one time. And then from that point going forward, it'd be a nominal cost, $50 to $100 a month or so to keep it maintained. It is directly across a paved road from another dirt road that we do maintain. The entire road, I believe, is right about a mile. So it's not a very, long section of road to maintain. We have since went out and obtained a deed for that. There we have received one signature from a local person, Miss Eva, I believe, lives in Washington State.
Eva Fitton.
Yes, sir. She lives in Washington State. It's been sent to her, and it's going to take some time to get there and be signed. She's aware of it and expecting it. We're just awaiting her signature. So that will actually all approval.
And also on this, this dirt that they don't have to hold, build it up, they have hauled 12 to 13 10 mats loads of dirt since they put into this, so, you know, that'd cut the cost a little bit.
Yes, sir. You talking about the people that live there, the owners?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. And I did not go back and update that cost because I was unaware of that. So, yeah, clearly that will cut down that number some.
Yeah, so that'll help a little bit, but anyway. Any other questions? Motion? Make a motion to approve, alternate number 1.
Motion and a second to approve alternate number 1. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve to reinstall fencing at 808 Old Augusta Road.
During the construction of Old Augusta Road, R.B. Baker removed fencing that was inside the right-of-way. The plans then called for certain fences to be reinstalled. Ms. George Blake's fence was removed and not reinstalled. The plans did not show that the fence was to be reinstalled. It appears that this was an omission on the plans and/or the survey completed by Moreland. The fence would meet the definition of a true first cost to the county. Or if the fence were to have been included, our price with the contractor would have been increased, as it would have been our responsibility. Therefore, staff obtained 3 quotes to replace approximately 640 feet of Ms. George Blake's field fence. The low quote came from Mr. Urban Zoller at $1,380. Staff recommends replacing the fence and having Mr. Zoller install, and funds would come from the Old Augusta Road project, and Public Works would need to mow that area prior to the fence.
Was that fence actually on the right of way, or he just, it was easy for him to knock it down, it was to go around it? Was that actually on the right of way?
It was in the part that we acquired. That's one of the sections that we acquired right-of-ways and easements, and it was part of the clearing that was done.
Was it properly removed? Was it supposed to be removed?
The plans did not show a fence at all. Our contract called for everything in the right-of-way to go away, and this is one that was not brought to, at least to my attention, until after the construction was completed on that road. There were several other issues like this with driveways and all that were caught during construction, and we worked those out. There was, numerous change orders that came to y'all. Unfortunately, Ms. Blake just did not make us aware of this until, after construction was completed.
So there was a fence there that when the plans were drawn, it wasn't shown that it was there, so it did have to be removed, but it just wasn't on the plans that it had to be removed.
Yes, ma'am.
And who did those plans? That's more than all development?
Yes, ma'am.
So why are they not paying for it?
If it was in the right of way, I don't have no problem doing it, but if it was not in the right of way, then I have a problem
If
taking up the
it's work
slack
that
to
has to
somebody
be,
else.
if it's work that has to be done because it's a fence that's in the way that has to be removed, and it's the person that draws the plan's job to do that, and they don't do it, why does it not, at least their errors and omissions, insurance or life, something, why are they not being held responsible instead of us? Have we discussed it with them?
Not this particular issue.
Because if it was, say it was something bigger that they had left out, we just say, okay, well, we'll just pay that, so that they'd be incentivized to leave stuff out of every plan they do for us, because we'll just pay it. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, this wouldn't be earning no insurance, it was just something that was overlooked, really.
Their errors insurance, errors and omissions, that they made an error in the plan, we covered that way, where they can get out of pocket if it's small enough, they don't want to use a deductible. I'm just wondering why we didn't, do you think what's your opinion? I mean, do y'all agree that it's something that they should consider covering?
Who drew the plans? Whose responsibility was it to see that the fence was on there? I mean, is that Marlon's or is it our?
Well, it was more ultimately, I mean, you asking the company or a specific individual?
Just
More ultimately.
When the property was acquired, was that part of the agreement that we would move the fence? I guess. Because we acquired the fence, the fence was on county property.
Well, some of the easements that we got temporary easements through there, we, cleared also.
It appears that this area is in the utility relocation area, to answer Commissioner Kiefer and Loper's question. And the fence now, if you were to drive by, you can see where the grass stops. The fence was actually beyond that. And when Georgia Power came through, R.B. Baker removed the fence as it was in the right of way. Then when Georgia Power came through, they cut trees down, so she hasn't been able to maintain that area. So where the fence goes now will be just inside our right of way.
Would it be reasonably questionable that Moreland Altobelli would not have understood that that needed to be in the plans? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Do they really have responsibility, we're letting them off the hook, or it's a normal thing that they wouldn't have understood, and so
I think the survey is, quite honestly, whoever they had doing the survey, it's not shown at all. There are other fences shown on those plans, this one is not. But like Adam shows you on Google Earth, clearly it was there, the fence did exist. I think what happened is the survey just missed it, so their engineers didn't know it was there, so it didn't get included in the plans to be replaced. That's what it appears to me.
I just know as a contractor, when we miss things, we cover them. And so that's why I was trying to understand. It seems that we have a lot of this kind of little thing.
And this whole project was surveyed on shoestring,
It was before
we've
my
had other issues on
time. I've heard stories, but I don't have any firsthand
What's
knowledge.
our
I don't
special
know.
deal?
You know, there are other issues that happen, such as driveways that get missed, because there's generally a long lead time between a survey and finished plan on the construction, you know, and things get constructed. This wasn't that issue. It just, I don't believe the fence was constructed in the time of the survey, in between the survey and construction. I believe it had been there.
I guess the real question is, do we owe these homeowners their fence back, the property owners their fence back?
I mean, and if we do, and we can't get it somewhere else, then I'm.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
this was our project, ultimately, I think we would be held responsible. Is this individual wanting to fence up because he has livestock to graze the field or anything? I mean, are we opening up anything with them?
Yeah, there's no livestock.
They have dogs.
Yeah.
Well, that said, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it, but then also seeing if we have any recourse going backwards for somebody to reimburse us. At least attempt the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Ultimately, I think it's ours.
Yeah. Well, so we actually acquired property where this fence sat, right?
I believe so, yes.
It's not like the fence was there and the surveyor was going along and marking where fences already existed that needed to stay.
We just didn't have a contract to replace it.
Correct.
This fence was.
We bought the
going to come
fence,
down.
we bought the land.
Yeah.
That's correct. It just wasn't on the plans to be replaced, and I think it wasn't on the plans to be replaced because it wasn't on the plans. They didn't know that it was there, the designers. We did have a couple issues with special provisions somehow being left off the plan, but all of that was resolved through construction. This is the only issue that I'm aware of that did not get resolved during the construction process.
I agree with Beard that, this isn't a big amount, but what happens if it's $300,000? What happens? We probably would spend more in staff time and energy trying to collect this.
Yeah.
But I think that the property owners are entitled to their fence, and I think it's our responsibility to put it back. But if the board votes to do this, I would agree we should at least ask the question and see if we can get reimbursed or split it with them or do something. The more we get back, the more we got to spend. Any other questions? Anybody want to give me a motion?
Well, I think we need to replace the fence, and if we were supposed to, that's my problem with it, where we're supposed to replace the fence.
Well, I think it's ours.
I think it was implied, because it sounds like what Ross was saying, there's other fences that we did replace, because it was shown on the plan.
I'll make a motion with an alternative room, but we also try to seek a refund from what our fellow possible.
A second.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Ford.
So I'll make a motion with an alternative one to replace the fence, but we also try to see if we can get a refund.
Thank you.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? So carried. All right. We're back up to number 5, consideration to approve the second reading to amend Chapter 71, Section 1 of the Effingham County Ordinance.
Apologize, that's a typo on the, should be chapter 75, section 1.
That's just on the agenda, it's correct on the note of the report.
The revisions to chapter 75, section 1 were approved at the board's 10/7 meeting. No changes have been made since then. This revision, just to refresh your memory, removes the requirement that single-family homes connect to water and sewer while still requiring minor and major subdivisions to connect. It requires developers to pay the initial cost associated with the installation of water and sewer infrastructure, including engineering, testing, materials, and labor. Water infrastructure must extend the entire frontage of the property. The water main shall be sized to meet the demand of the development or size equal to the existing county main, whichever pipe size is largest. If the county requires that the pipe is upsized, the county could participate in the cost of upsizing. Staff recommends alternative 1. Approval of second.
Nothing's been changed since the last meeting.
Yes.
Well, how about the person, if they build a house right up on the road and they got water and sewer there, they do have the right to connect to it if they want to, right?
Yes. You always have the right to connect.
Okay.
We just don't have a requirement to connect.
The difference is whether you're going to be forced to or not.
And the 1,000 feet, I was against that, but this is fine like this, I don't have any problem with it.
Anything else? Motion.
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Motion and second to approve alternate number 1. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve change order number 8 for the Effingham County Sheriff's Office.
The board approved change order number 7 to complete the majority of the reserved shelf space in the sheriff's office. Staff was able to pick up additional savings in the flooring option, which pushed our credit from $4,329 to $21,054. A wireless projector for the sheriff's office training room is needed. After these adjustments, the remaining project funds available equals $25,321. The sheriff is interested in painting the remaining 3 sides of the sheriff's office. This painting was originally removed during the value engineering process at the project's development. The painting cost is $24,567, and there are enough project funds available to cover the cost of this painting, as represented in change order number 8. The sheriff has also been able to identify previously impounded funds, which the sheriff would like to return to the county. The sheriff estimates that these funds total $24,600. The sheriff and staff would like to request that the previously impounded funds of approximately $24,600 be used to complete a few other minor modifications that appear feasible now that funding allows. Therefore, staff is recommending and requesting approval of change order number 5 to complete the painting using the remaining project funds. Approval of a budget amendment.
Change order 8. Not 5.
Yeah, 8. Sounds good. Approval of the budget amendment to receive these funds from the sheriff's office and transfer these funds to the capital account for the minor modifications, and authorize the chairman to execute a future change order up to $24,600 for the minor modification, which are still being more fully developed at this time.
That's a mouthful.
It is.
I will say, when I was over there talking with Sheriff Kentucky about a couple of things, and one of the things that he addressed was about a little bit of leakage during the construction. We were talking through some processes about things they had done and things that would prevent any leakage in the future, because we definitely, I said, we guarantee the taxpayers this building right here is not going to leak. And one of the things he said, the contractor that's on site said to me was, well, we're painting with a epoxy paint that will also help the water not get through those expansion joint areas. And I said, well, you're only painting the front, right? And he said, yes, that's all we have on mine. So I do think that the fact not only about Sheriff Duffy asking to use these funds for painting, it's not just about aesthetics, it's about the building integrity, and I think that's an important thing. And he has had to cut a lot of things out of his budget to stay in price. So I also feel that since these available funds are being replaced back to the county, that's a good use of those funds to replace some of the things that he's asking for, like the canopy and things like that. I'm in favor unless there's some concern otherwise.
Did she say it well?
She said it very well. I would also go one step farther, just to clarify. The epoxy paint is actually to be used on the inside, such as a basement sealer. It's not actually the exterior paint. The exterior paint is a latex exterior paint.
Okay. He said that to me in addressing that. I'm just telling you what he said to me.
Yes, sir.
He's the sheriff, it's not the painter.
No. the
I'll be more than happy.
The head contractor, and
Right.
when I asked the question, you just painting the front, then he said yes. And then I went into the sides and the back, and he said yes.
I'll be more than happy to clarify. I just want to make sure that
We were talking about painting the
They're not
block.
painted outside.
He may have misunderstood, but I was not painting the block exterior, and I usually don't mince words, but who knows?
I understand.
Make more sense.
This change order is to paint the exterior of the building.
That doesn't make
Okay.
sense.
We'll make sure we get that resolved.
Well, with the extra savings that you asked me to report to the board the last time, which I did, my statement was, we'll find a place to spend
Oh,
it.
yeah. Always.
And here it is.
Here it is. Next meeting.
Any other questions, discussion?
The change, budget amendment is in your folder.
Yes, this. Okay, if you're ready for a motion, if my motion is correct, when I say it to cover all the issues that you've addressed, let me know, okay? Because the way I understand it, we need, let's see, the board may elect to approve change order number 8. We want to do that and allow us lost funds that are remaining in that project that were saved to be used for that. And then we want to make a budget resolution amendment to receive the 24/6 in funds from the sheriff's department, and then allow that to be used as an expenditure on a list of items he's providing up to that amount of 24/6.
The only thing I would say is there's several things that are still being developed that aren't included on the minor modifications
On the
list,
list he is providing.
but on a list that we're still working through. So I wouldn't want to constrain our use of that 24/6 to the modification list as you see here.
Yes.
We're just requesting modifications up to the 26.
Right. And that's why I worded is providing, not what we have in here, but what he is providing.
That is the cap that he can.
As long as it's going on the jail, going to the jail.
Yes, ma'am.
And he can't spend more than 24/6, as long as it's going fixed to that jail and it's a necessary item.
Yes, ma'am.
In other words, we're spending the money he's giving us.
Yes. Old money that we never had.
Changing hands.
That's my motion.
It's clear. Second.
I got a second? Absolutely. Motion and a second. You got that, Stephanie?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Uh-huh.
Any opposed? So carried. All right. Now we removed number 7.
Yeah.
Y'all help me out. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
We got it.
You're right on.
We need executive session today.
I brought chocolate cakes just in case.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get the staff out of the way. Committee report. Who wants to go first? Tom?
As usual, you have your update on the sheriff's office. The only other item that I have is ACCG is holding district meetings. The one in our area will be November 19th, 4:30 p.m. at Holden Seafood in Midway. And I'm asking whom amongst you would like to attend.
What's the date?
November 19th, 4:30 p.m. So
When-
we have one more meeting. I mean, you can
Yeah.
procrastinate once again, but after.
I told you, if you wanted to go, I'd go with you, but I'm
Yes,
gonna, I'm gonna drive over there and
Yeah,
back.
Commissioner Logan and I are going, so if anyone else wants to come.
It's where?
Mid Holden's in Midway, right off Interstate Midway.
Did he eat?
Yeah, we'll eat afterwards, if that changes your opinion.
We'll eat wherever we are.
In this case, it would be a Holden's. So again, you have one more meeting. I don't know that there was a deadline. I don't recall seeing that on there. They do want RSVP so they know who's coming.
I won't procrastinate past tomorrow. Adam, you got anything else?
The water and sewer department has a pump at Caribbean Village Park West. It needs to be repaired. The approximate cost of that is $17,000. We authorized the repair of that pump. There's two, one being bad. If the other one goes bad, we could be in a pickle. We believe that there's money in that account for repairs and maintenance at this time. However, those funds might not survive, so we may have a future budget amendment which want to make the way we make that clear.
So that pump at Caribbean Village, is that part of what's up for discussion with Mr. Hutchinson?
No, sir. There are two lift stations out, well, there's three. The one with Mr. Hutchinson is the small one in the back that takes his little individual system.
Okay.
Then there's two larger ones. This is one that was originally developed in the front that we took recently, actually in the last couple of months. There's one more in the back that we're still working through. This is a large 88 horsepower submersible pump for duplex pump station. They're $80,000 pumps, $17,000 worth of damage, so we're better off to repair them than replace. But it's part of that daisy chain system to go back into the treatment plant.
So it's damaged, it's not where it's actually damaged.
There was a mop head is what they believe as best they can tell that was sucked up into the volume. And when it did, it sort of seized the pump and got water up in the stator and fried back. So it was due to damage. And, I mean, these are 6-inch volumes, so yeah, this are big pumps.
So right now, there's two pumps there, one of them's down.
Correct.
So if the other one goes down, we're in a pickle.
Yes, sir. We're bypass pumping at that point.
Because we wouldn't have time to get it rebuilt.
Correct. Yes, sir. And it's at flight torn down right now because we had to know what was wrong with it so they can put it back together and get it to us.
So you're just telling us.
Yes, sir, basically making you aware of the fact. I mean, we have to replace it. It's not really an option. It has to get repaired, but I think, just making you aware that because it is an unexpected expenditure from R&M, we may end up, overrunning that item towards the end of the year. We'll clearly do our best to try not to.
Anything else?
No.
Joanne?
Yes, sir, just two items. Our auditors are here. They will be here all week this week. We're making good progress. We're trying to turn everything around to them within a day. In other words, if they ask for it one day, we're turning around the next. So we expect that to go smoothly. We have got a timeline and a calendar by day to ensure that we meet that deadline. And then also too, you will have your financial statements tonight for these last couple of months for September.
All I can say is just hold their feet to the fire. We can't have another extension.
Yes, sir. I actually did a day by day up to the 18th to make sure that we were in sync. Staff will have to work over one weekend based off of that schedule, but that's part of staff's job, so we will be here to do it.
Good. Thank you. Any other staff? Reggie, anything?
Yeah, I got two little things. How about the Sand Hill Ballpark septic system?
Plans were received today.
Plans?
Plans. It will be bid tomorrow, hopefully.
That thing is, I don't go along with all these plans. It's been out of commission for 3 months and you've had to pump it, you spend probably $1,200-1,300 pumping that thing off every time you have something over there. It's getting terrible.
I completely agree.
And I don't know about the plans. I don't go along with all that stuff. I don't think you need any plans in it. So I don't know what the holdup is, and that's what I want to know. And I've been bringing this up for 3 months.
Yes, sir.
And we're still waiting on
Who was
plans.
hired to design?
EMC.
BNC, yeah.
Who?
The main thing, and this is what I'll say.
BNC,
EMC. And I can
not bids.
I can say that the design that we all thought on the back of our heads is not what came back on the plans. and we were vastly undersized. So had we gone through with what we thought we needed to do, we probably still would have been undersized and had a problem. So I feel like we're using our money a little bit smarter by making sure that it's sized so we don't have these problems.
So did the health department, did they okay that when they built it originally? I mean, they, the health department, they already determined what we needed over there.
I'm not sure, I wasn't here when the system was originally installed.
It's already been so long. Okay, how about the fire station on Highway 17 up there?
Working on some final plans and meet with DOT.
DOT. You take all this time to get a permit from DOT to go across there?
Yep, we've been working with our Public Works Department and trying to determine the best way for project delivery. We hope to see movement on that very quickly.
It's a good thing. A lot of it didn't buy that property. It was had some timber in there. They'd already had the timber out, and y'all still looking for getting the permit from the DOT. That's sort of terrible when you come right down to it.
Yes, sir.
And we've had the property a year, and we hadn't even got a road across the ditch. Anyway, that's all I have.
I'm good.
Fair.
Let me ask this about the jail. When we get down to finishing the job, how does and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this properly, retainage?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
Retainage is always held until we get a certificate of occupancy. Then they request it, then we would bring them back a final acceptance to you.
What amount, like, is it a percentage or anything, do you know?
It's
Right
a-
now it's 110,000.
110? Okay. Because the only thing that I want to be sure of when we do get down to it is, whatever we have to do to ensure that we do not have, that we know we don't have any leakage problems. And I want to say this about what you said. I fought it through for a second, and I'm going to tell you this. If they're using epoxy paint on the inside of a sheetrock wall to protect water damage, we're in trouble. But wait, you understand what I'm saying to you?
I do.
Because you don't want rain getting in through the things before the sheetrock, like insulation, stuff like that. So I'm just saying that back as a statement to you.
Understand.
If we have a problem, that's a safeguard. Okay. Okay, that's it.
Well, I do have place of work, if you heard anything else from the Atlas.
Yeah, excuse me, Ray Tippett called me this afternoon, and it was close enough to start this week, and I didn't want to call him back, so I was scared he'd call and be late. But he said that he had received the survey. You know, the last time I told you there was some issues with the survey, they sent it back to the surveyor. He's received a revised survey. He told me 2 weeks, the last time I spoke with him, from the time that he got the survey. So I'll call him tomorrow, but I suspect it'll be 2 weeks roughly. He basically had a few questions he wanted to ask me in regards to getting started.
Any other staff? I'm sorry, is that like you?
No, it's not.
All right. I will entertain that all important motion.
Make a motion to go into executive session for personnel, property, and pending litigation.
Motion and second to adjourn into executive session. All in favor? Any opposed? So adjourned. All right, first item on the planning board recommends approving an application by Lynn Jeffers Jr. to rezone 1.95 acres located at 489 Old C. Conaway Road from B2 to AR2, map number 352, parcel number 73 in the first district.
Yes, this is the parcel that a previous owner had rezoned to commercial, presumably speculatively, because there's never been a commercial business there that I'm aware of. There was an old house there that the Jeffers have since purchased the property and restored the house, and they intend to continue living there as their home, and do not want the property listed commercial. Mr. Gilbert is here if you have any questions for him. Both planning board and staff recommend approval.
All right, does anyone here wish to speak for this rezoning? Come to the mic, please, state your name for the record.
Lynn Jeffers. We just bought it. It was an old home place, and I think 4 or 5 years ago, they had it rezoned in hopes of getting rich on the property. So we decided to restore this 100-year-old house. We
I
just
just say
want
I drive by the house every day going to work, and Mr. Jeffrey's done a great job with that house. It's good.
All right, anybody here wish to speak against it? First district.
I'll make a motion that we approve based on staff and planning board recommendations.
Second. Motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Thank you.
opposed?
Thank
So
you.
approved. Next item, planning board recommends approving an application by Angelica E. Pittman to rezone. How many acres is it?
1 acre.
1 acre.
1 acre. Located at 5691 Old Dixie Highway South from AR1 to AR2, map number 263, parcel number 27 in the 3rd district.
So Ms. Pittman is requesting to rezone 1 acre out of a much larger piece for a home site. Both staff and planning board recommend approval.
All right, anybody here wish to speak for this?
Angelica Pittman. We just purchased 15 acres and we're just wanting to zone up 1 acre to build our house.
All right. Anybody wish to speak against it? I'll entertain the motion, 3rd district.
All right, he's gone. Make a motion to approve staff recommendations.
Second. Motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried.
Who was the second, please? Was that a motion? Thank you.
What I do, run y'all from the bottom?
That's it.
I can't go into this branch and you move to another one. Why wouldn't you just let?
Baby.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good number.
8-year-old tomorrow.
There you go. All right, both of these will have a second reading at our next meeting before we come in final.
You can approve the plat today,
Right.
next week. In your case, I can approve the plat today after the meeting. But you don't have to come to me.
Am I good? All right. Toss, you said to remind you about the rec board workshop.
Yes, sir. We were scheduling a workshop for the recreation project at 7 o'clock on the first meeting in November. That is November the 4th and election day. Do we still want to do that? It's at 7 o'clock. Presumably most people, polls close at 7, but for those that are trying to get home to vote after work, I don't want to conflict. It's completely up to y'all. Like when we first said that, I didn't realize that was actually election day.
George, how does planning board look for the next?
The November planning board, we have 3 items, which would be 3 items in December. You talking about the
Yeah,
stuff
I was
that's
thinking the second meeting in November.
Or, excuse me, we have 3 items for October. That'll be on November, yes. And I don't know what's in
I
December.
was just thinking,
Well, that'll be
I'll
short.
be on the second meeting, November.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's only gonna be 3.
This is coming up on the next,
November
I don't
5th is our
have to.
next regular scheduled meeting.
Yes, ma'am. That's
But
correct.
we were going to do the public about the rec at 7 o'clock, is what it says, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. And I think the idea was because we did not have planning board, so we would just hold up the workshop at 7 rather than the planning board. And we can certainly do it, it just happens to be, the voting day, so.
I just don't
And
see it as a
about
problem.
7, you know?
I don't have no problem
Well,
with
you
it.
gotta be in line by
Because
7.
it was closed at 7, you'd almost think they could vote and then get here, it might be
I've
convenient.
already voted.
You have,
Yeah.
Huh?
you have, but you don't know what's.
I know.
A lot of people like to vote on the day.
And we don't want to disenfranchise.
Well, you don't be here
anybody.
anyway. You don't be here
No,
anyway.
I am, I'm talking about the public.
Oh. Well, 7 o'clock, everything will be closed.
You don't want that here.
If they hadn't voted by then, they won't get the vote.
We gotta be in line by 7, so.
Man, you got to be in line.
I mean, there is a case of somebody could leave Savannah at 5, getting off work and trying to make, I don't know that it'll happen, I just bring it up as a, sub y'all.
I don't, it doesn't make any difference.
What's the other suggestions on the table?
Have a special in the
They
next.
have a special meeting, correct, unless y'all want to hold it off to the last meeting in November.
I'd rather go ahead and have one sometime.
I would suggest we go ahead and do it, particularly if we're trying to, acquire a piece of property, we need to give momentum moving that forward, because we also did not approve the contract, if y'all recall back, with CHA. We held that off and approved a contract for the master plan. So once we acquire property, you still have to go back and approve the contract before they will start any work on it.
Yeah, I want to keep it moving, I don't,
Me too.
I'm flexible, whatever.
Now, at the same time, it may not affect this particular.
I think so too.
I say let's leave it at 7 o'clock, just like.
I'll be surprised if we have a real large turnout either way. I could be wrong.
Nobody guessed.
No, I'm for it.
Leave it
Just
at 4.
advertising, people can plan accordingly. We get, they can come.
We have early voting.
7 o'clock.
Is there anything else I'm supposed to remind you about?
No, sir, you did perfect. Because I had forgotten.
All right. I need a motion to approve the executive session minutes.
I'm on the second.
Yeah, you weren't here. From October 7th, 2014.
I'll make a motion that we approve the October 7th executive session minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. All right, any other business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
None being opposed, we stand adjourned.
It's one of the earliest get out meetings. So.
Boy, this is-
Thank y'all.